What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about how long does credit repair actually take? So we're going to dive into that. That is a common question and a common misconception that a lot of people have, that it happens overnight or maybe it takes forever. So we're going to basically talk about that plus a whole lot more on today's episode. So first and foremost, how long does it take? So keep in mind that of course, the credit problems that you may be facing, they didn't, derive overnight. It took some time to get there, maybe a couple months, maybe a couple of years. And so therefore, it's not going to fix itself, overnight either. It's going to take some time to get back on track. And to anyone that's looking at options to restore their credit, if there's an individual or a company that's saying that we can fix it quickly or within 30 days or less, that kind of thing, that's a red flag. And you really want to do your homework and dig in a little bit more. Don't just be gullible to that, what could be a potential scam. Especially if they're asking for all your money up front. They want $500 up front or $1,000 up front before they begin. That it potentially could be a red flag. And also what some people do, or some professionals, if you want to call them that, do, is they'll do their credit repair process is basically consist of filing a falsified police report saying that you were a victim of identity theft, completing an affidavit, which is going to be notarized. It's an FTC identity theft affidavit, which by notarizing that and also admitting that those accounts were subject to from identity theft, you're basically under law admitting to something that is not true, and you're swearing that it is. So you really want to be careful with that. And then basically just sending those letters to the bureaus, trying to get all the accounts off your report. That is not necessarily legal. It's not real. And again, this is not legal advice. This information is just opinion. But that can really go the wrong direction for you if you're doing something like that, especially if you know it's not true. And so, but actual credit repair, real credit repair can take some time. It shouldn't take years, but it should take a few months. And the reason why that is because credit repair mainly consists of disputing information on your report that you believe to be inaccurate. And when you're disputing that information, the credit reporting agencies, they have some protection under the Fair Credit Reporting Act that they are allowed to take up to 30 days to have an account that has been disputed, to have it investigated. And whenever you dispute an account, that 30-day time clock, that begins from the moment that the bureau receives the dispute, not from the time you send it, but from the time that they actually receive it. So according to U.S. mail, it could be maybe 3 days, maybe 4. But once they receive it, that's when that time clock begins. And what they normally do when that dispute letter comes in, they'll process that dispute typically the same day. And by processing it, meaning, they scan the dispute letter in, have some automation kick in to where it can grab a lot of that text and put it into their system. And the representative will kind of go in there and clean up the dispute and kind of pigeonhole that dispute if they can to a 2 or 3 digit code. And then they'll basically forward that dispute over to that furnisher of information, whether that's a credit card company or a debt collector, whoever is responsible for reporting that information to the bureau, the credit reporting agency, that agent is going to forward it to that agency. And they're going to have 30 days to kind of 29, if you will, to get back and respond back to the bureau with their results of their own independent investigation. And what the bureau wants to know is, was the information inaccurate and should be deleted, or should it be updated? What is the correct information, or was this information accurate? So the way it's reporting is the consumer says it's wrong, but it's actually correct. And so just do your own independent investigation, and whatever end result that you come up with, we're going to let the consumer know that that was the result of that investigation. So because of that back and forth, right? Because they can come back and say the account is accurate, and you know for a fact that it's not. And so you may have a follow-up investigation to that, because that is your right as a consumer. You can request a re-investigation to be done. And so you may be going back and forth a little bit with the bureaus and maybe with those data furnishers directly. And again, every time a dispute is reopened, they got about 30 days. They have up to 30 days to go ahead and investigate. So if an account, you're kind of going back and forth and it's been 3 or 4 different letters, 3 or 4 different attempts, you could be 4 or 5 months into this thing until you actually actually get the result that you're looking for, or just kind of, flat out just say, okay, I give up. It is what it is, and maybe go take action a different way. So because of that reason, because of the back and forth that you may have to do with the reporting agencies, that's why credit repair takes time. It takes months. It doesn't have to take years, but it does take some months. Now, if you're building credit along the way, right, maybe you're working on repairing some items you have on your report, but you also have no credit established right now, you're not making payments on anything, you're gonna probably wanna build some credit in the process. And so maybe get like a secured credit card, build some credit history with that, keep the balance low, and give that 3 to 6 months worth of new payment history. That's gonna be something that will help with your credit repair process and help with your score, because now you're also demonstrating that you can handle credit and you can manage credit, and that's gonna really help your credit as well. Again, shouldn't take years, but it is going to take a couple months. Could be 3 months, could be 6, maybe even 9. It could be a year, but usually between 3 and 9 months, you can make a lot of progress, a lot of headway with your credit. It really shouldn't take 2-3 years. That's really too long with repair, because at some point, sometime you have to pivot. Maybe you have to look into settling a collection account that you owe, so you can just kind of settle that balance out and be done with it, and maybe ask that debt collector for a letter of deletion, which I do talk about in my course and how to address that. But you do kind of want to come to a stopping point, not just sending letters to the bureaus over and over and over with the same dispute. You can send them over and over if you're changing your dispute reason and you have different accounts that you're disputing. That's perfectly fine. But at some point, sometime, you've exhausted a lot of your effort on one particular account that you may have to just pivot and look at a different option. So again, credit repair takes some time, shouldn't take years, shouldn't take decades, that's for sure, but it should take a good couple months to really make some progress and be happy with the progress that was made and the score benefit you're seeing from that, so you can go and do the next thing. Now, if you are wanting to take your credit score to the next level and don't want to hire a company to do that, don't want to spend the time or the research or the money to hire a third-party company to help fix your credit, I did put together a complete do-it-yourself course where I compress a lot of the Metro 2 formatting, or basically the industry standard that was put together by the CDIA. It's a 200-page document. I kind of compress the most important stuff from that into dispute letter templates. Very simple dispute letter templates where you can easily download, plug information that you see on your report that's inaccurate. And I do provide training on how to formulate your dispute, how to formulate your argument, because you don't want to go in there and just say, this account's not mine, or please investigate that. You don't want to make it easy for the bureau or for these debt collectors. You really want to put them on notice. And so that's what these dispute letter templates are designed to do, and along with all my training behind it, because it's not just the letter templates and you're good to go. You need to kind of understand the process and know how to formulate your dispute in order to really get the result that you're looking for. So click on the link in the email to learn more about my do-it-yourself course. And if you want to take advantage of that, feel free to do so. There's also a Facebook group that we have a community going where you can actually bounce ideas off each other, ask questions, and get your questions answered as you go on your credit repair journey. Again, I'm Joe Chavarria, and I hope to see you guys on the inside. Take care.